part of Charlotte should I move in? What part of Mecklenburg County should I move to? Should I live outside of the county? Should I go across the border to South Carolina? Those are a lot of questions that I get asked all the time from people who are interested in buying a house. But I also get asked North Carolina as well as South Carolina's specific questions when it comes to people wanting to move here. And a lot of people don't really know some of the differences and similarities that come with the two states. So what I'm going to do today is highlight a few things that you would get where moving to North Carolina or South Carolina. Stay tuned. This one for all of y'all and y'all and y'all and y'all and y'all and y'all. Hey, what's up, guys? It's Real Estate Vince. As always, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching and liking and subscribing and all that good stuff, okay? But let's get right into it. What do I get if I move to North Carolina or if I move to South Carolina? Well, the first thing I want to talk about is the obvious, and that's the size. North Carolina is a lot bigger than South Carolina, and because of that, North Carolina has a lot more people in it, okay? North Carolina roughly has about 10.49 million people living in the state, whereas conversely, South Carolina has about 5.149 million. Now, that is a pretty huge difference considering that they are bordering states. However, depending on what type of person you are, that could be a very good thing. Now, obviously, with North Carolina having so many more people, that means you're going to get a lot more diversity. And diversity doesn't necessarily have to equal race. It could be religion. It could be general interest. It could be the job market. It could be a host of things, okay? So you're just going to get a wider array of various topics because you have twice the many people here in North Carolina. And also when it comes to that, as a result, with the state of North Carolina, you're going to get more of a hustle and bustle type of environment. Sorry about that. Whereas with South Carolina, you're going to get more of a kind of a laid back, small town feeling. Okay. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't get your hustle and bustle on in South Carolina. And it doesn't mean that the state of North Carolina doesn't have small towns, because both are true for both states. However, generally speaking, with the state of North Carolina, it's more hustle and bustle. South Carolina is a little bit more laid back, small town feel, okay? So the next thing that I want to talk about is gas. In the state of North Carolina, according to gasprices.aa.com, a gallon of gas averages about $3.35. Whereas in the state of South Carolina, you're looking at about $3.28 for a gallon of gas. Next up is climate. Now, the states border each other, so conventional wisdom tells you that you're going to get the same thing. If you're living on the west of either the states, you're going to be in the mountains. If you're living in the east, you're going to be near the beach. And anywhere in between, you'll be in the foothills. So no matter the time of the year, whatever the weather is in North Carolina, it's going to basically be the same thing in South Carolina. Now, the southern part of South Carolina would be a lot different than the northern part of North Carolina. But if you're anywhere in between, if it's 80 degrees in South Carolina, it's going to be 80 degrees in North Carolina, okay? Now let's talk about education. When it comes to grades pre-K through 12, the state of North Carolina is ranked 12th in the country according to usnews.com, whereas the state of South Carolina is ranked 42nd. When it comes to higher education, the state of North Carolina is ranked 7th and the state of South Carolina is ranked 45th. That's a pretty stark difference between the two neighboring states. And again, this is according to usnews.com, which I will hyperlink in the description if you guys want to check it out. Now, because of that, I decided to take it a step further and look at teacher salary. So according to worldpopulationnews.com, the state of North Carolina ranks 29th in the country with an average teacher salary of $53,940. The state of South Carolina currently ranks 39th with an average salary of $50,882. Now, for a little bit more perspective, when it comes to states in the South, the state of Georgia actually pay their teachers the most at $57,095 every year. And the state of Mississippi is the last in the country at $45,000. And the state of New York pays their teachers the most at about $85,889. Now, keep in mind, even though New York and I believe California is ranked number 2, keep in mind those guys have the highest cost of living. So yeah, you're making a lot more money, but how far will that money go? Because a lot of people complain about the South, but I've never seen anybody retire and say, hey, we're going to move up north, all right? So that's teacher salary and that's education for you right there, okay? I think North Carolina ranks higher than the state of South Carolina in both of those categories. Next up on the list, I want to talk about is sports. Now, when it comes to sports, both states have a ton to do depending on what level of sports that you guys are wanting to watch. When it comes to pro sports, there aren't any sports teams located physically in the state of South Carolina. However, we do have the Charlotte Hornets and we have the Carolina Panthers that are right there on the border in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I believe from a legal standpoint, I believe the Panthers actually belong to both states. They represent both states. That's why they're called the Carolina Panthers and not the North Carolina Panthers like Sean Combs mentioned a couple years ago when the Panthers were up for sale. In addition to that, I believe in a month or so, Charlotte will have its first soccer team play its first game. I believe they're called Charlotte FC, and they'll be playing right here in Charlotte as well, which is shared by the same owner of the Carolina Panthers. Also in North Carolina, up in Raleigh, we have a hockey team known as the Carolina Hurricanes, okay? So for you hockey fans, Raleigh would be a good area for you if you love professional hockey. Now, as far as South Carolina, they do have a lot of minor baseball teams, minor league baseball teams, as well as North Carolina, but I decided not to go into that because there's just a lot of them. Now, when it comes to college sports, if you love college football, college basketball, you're going to find that all over South Carolina as well as North Carolina. But when it comes to pro sports, you're gonna want to lean a little bit more towards North Carolina. And taking that a step further, I want to talk about gambling in both states when it comes to sports gambling. North Carolina tends to be pretty strict. At the moment right now, the only way to gamble on sports would be to go to a casino. I believe there are about 3 or 4 casinos in the state of North Carolina where you can go gamble, and you can do it that way. In the state of South Carolina, you simply cannot gamble at all. Historically speaking, they have just completely been against it, even though there are a lot of people down there who want it, but there's no legal form of gambling whatsoever in the state of South Carolina based on the research that I did, okay? So when I first started doing research for this video, I was hoping to find more of a 50-50 balance between two of the states, and that really wasn't the case. So I wanted to find something that would give South Carolina the edge, just for impartiality, okay? And based on that, what I was able to find was that South Carolina is a very military-friendly state, according to WalletHub.com. Okay, so according to Wallet Hub, and again, I'll put the link in the description so you guys can go look at it. The state of South Carolina ranks number 2 overall in the country behind Virginia when it comes to being military friendly, whereas North Carolina ranks all the way 23, okay, which is interesting because the most famous basketball player in history wore 23, so I thought that was kind of funny. However, North Carolina ranks 23 according to WalletHub.com, and South Carolina ranks number 2. Now, I mentioned that because depending on which site you look at, you're going to get a lot of different answers, okay? And I did a little bit more research, and there's a website called militarybenefits.info, and it breaks it down a little bit more when it comes to taxes and when it comes to buying a house, some of the benefits that the military community will get, and depending on each state will kind of dictate what some of the benefits you get. So I'm going to include those links as well, and hopefully you guys can find some useful information, okay? So that's it for this video. I wanted to keep it very short just to highlight a few topics as it relates to both states. If there is a topic that you guys would like me to go over, just put it down in the comments and hopefully I can do so in the future, okay? All right, appreciate it, y'all. See you guys next time.